Hey guys, it is a real pleasure to be here at AIA Live with Marika Day. In fact, I'm not really with Marika Day because she's very much halfway across the world. Where are you, Marika?
I'm in Sydney, Australia, so a very, very long way away from you.
And you're currently sort of stuck at home?
Definitely, we're mid-lockdown. We've been here for a while now, and it's still got a long time to go.
Now, I've got a whole load of ingredients in front of me that you have suggested for me to cook. I know what I'm going to do with it, but I guess what's more important is talking about why you've picked this sort of plethora of vegetables.
So I wanted to create a meal that was plant-based, so it was primarily based on vegetables and plant-based products, so be it like grains and those sorts of things. But using a variety of different vegetables as well, so that we can try and get lots of nutrients in there, but also different types of protein, and just a really simple meal that people can sort of make on a weeknight as well.
You know, we've got lots of veg, but I've also got rice, and rice is really, really, really important in our culture. Is rice bad for you?
Great question, and I think this is probably one of the most popular questions I get. Rice is not bad for you in any way. It more comes down to the quantity that we're having, but also one thing that I'm really passionate about is incorporating cultural foods into somebody's diet as well, because I think that health is so much broader than just specific fruits and vegetables and those sorts of things.
First of all, thank you.
You are welcome.
I'm a rice bin, and in Chinese, in Cantonese, we call ourselves fan tong, which actually means rice bin. I could literally eat rice 3 times a day. I've got actually 2 types of rice here. I've got Japanese white rice. I've also got a 10-grain Korean rice. There's brown rice in there. I've got some pearl barley, sorghum, some millet, and I think there's different types of oats as well. What's good about brown rices and these alternative grains?
Yeah, so one of the first things that's really good about brown rice is that it has got that bran layer on the outside. So we are getting a lot of extra vitamins, minerals, and dietary fiber that is found in that bran layer. What you are getting is a variety of nutrients from those different grains, which research has shown when we have a variety of plant-based foods, what it's doing is actually helping to improve our gut health and improve our microbiota in our gut.
Yeah, well look, I'm going to cook the rice. There's technique to cooking any type of rice. I mean, even if it was just the white rice, I would wash it sort of 5-6 times until the water runs clear. And then I cover it with a lid, bring it to a boil, let it simmer. Let it simmer for about 15-20 minutes and then just turn the heat off and let it sit in its own steam. The only difference to the 10-grain rice is that it's protected a little bit more and therefore doesn't absorb liquid as fast. And so what I've done with this is once I'd washed it, I actually sat it soaked in cold water for about ½ hour to 45 minutes. I've also timed the water to 1.5 water to rice. I'm going to go straight onto the vegetables and I'm going to go straight to the aubergine. I'm going to slice this aubergine almost like it's replacing my sashimi for a classic poke bowl. So I'm actually making a poke bowl here, but a pure vegan poke bowl. Why have you chosen aubergine for my dish?
Yeah, the reason I chose eggplant for this dish is because it really does provide that sort of meaty texture that, like sashimi or, any other sort of meat would provide in this dish. Aubergine or eggplant is high in dietary fiber as well, so it's really healthy, really good for your gut. It doesn't have the protein in it like a meat or a sashimi would, but that's why we have got some of the other vegetables and those grains that you've got there cooking away as well.
My aubergine, I've sliced up into these cubes. A poke bowl in Hawaii, poke actually means chunks. So it's very important that a poke bowl has some sort of chunks of things. I'm going to cook this, but Chinese style, steamed, because steamed aubergine, it collects in a lot of the moisture, but it should come out almost still looking raw.
Wow.
And you could then, once it's steamed, it softens, and when it's still hot, I'll pour the dressing, which I'm going to make in a second, over the top of that hot aubergine. And that means that with the open pores of the aubergine, it will soak in all that flavour.
And I think that's one of the keys with aubergine is that it does need to have some sort of flavor with it, because it is such a good carrier of flavor. So for those who haven't tried it at home, I think that is a really good way to begin to introduce it into your diet if it's a new vegetable.
So this is going to go onto my wok. I've got my wok halfway full of boiling water, and that's going to go straight over the top and steam away on a high heat for 8 minutes. Exactly 8 minutes to prepare everything else. I've got some stuff prepped already, but the dressing itself, I'm going to use some light soy and some palm sugar. And actually I've got a tamari, it's a gluten-free soya sauce, tamari here, and it's also low sodium. I do find that as a chef that low sodium soy sauce lacks the saltiness that soy sauce requires. Is there a balance out of like adding lots of low sodium soy sauce as opposed to adding a small amount of normal soy sauce to a meal?
And that's exactly what I was going to say, is like it's all about the balance. And so what I always like to get people to think of is like the balance of like their whole dish, or the balance of even their whole meal or the whole week of eating. So you know, you might use a full strength soy sauce, but you're not using a lot of it. And then the other thing I like to think about is like with the dressing that you're making, yeah, we're using a bit of oil and yeah, we're using a bit of sugar. But if we think about the context of the entire dish, it's an incredibly healthy dish. You know, we've got so much fresh produce there, so much fiber, so much vitamins and minerals. Topping it with a dressing that has a little bit of fat and a little bit of sugar for flavor is a great way to get us to eat more fruits and vegetables.
And with palm sugar in itself, palm sugar is a much better, I guess, less refined sugar that we can use as well.
Yeah, it's I think a lower GI sugar as well.
The low GI, can you explain that a little bit more? Because again, as a layman, I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, and it's a great question. Low GI means essentially that the carbohydrate is broken down slowly and that the sugars from that carbohydrate are released into your bloodstream slowly. And high GI, on the other hand, means that the sugars and the carbohydrates are broken down quite quickly, and so you get a spike in your blood sugar, you know, relatively quickly after eating the food.
I've got here my tamari, my gluten-free light soy, my palm sugar, my sesame oil, and then a good squeeze of lemon and lime juice.
Amazing. That sounds so yum.
The only thing I'm going to add to that now is a little bit of spring onion and some dill. And with a poke bowl, like it's kind of like use whatever herbs you've got nearby you. It's just whatever tastes good. Any sort of leafy, flavoursome herbs work with this. So herbs, is there anything particularly unique about herbs, or are they just generally good for you anyway?
Yeah, herbs are great because they are rich in antioxidants, but I think that the thing that a lot of Australians struggle with is that like buying herbs in the punnet here is quite expensive, and from what I have experienced, is a lot of people just throw them out after they've used a tablespoon of them. There's
lots of different ways of looking after your herbs, and the easiest way is actually take it out of any packaging that you've got, and then pop them into a seal-tight container wrapped in a bit of kitchen towel, just dry kitchen towel, and they will last a lot longer that way in that seal-tight container. We've got my dressing here, I've got loads of dill in there, my spring onion along with those sauces and the citrus fruits. My aubergine is fully cooked now, so you can see my aubergine is steaming hot. I'm surprised my glasses didn't steam up there, right? But it still looks raw, which is a really strange thing. If I take this piece of aubergine and just pop it on a spoon, it literally just goes straight through my fork, you see? And I can mush it. That's how well cooked it is. I'll eat that. Whilst this aubergine is steaming hot, I'm going to pour all of this dressing right over the top. I'm going to mix that through, get all those herbs mixed in along with the aubergine. I've also got a little bit of finely diced red onion here, which I'm going to pop into that aubergine. Not too much. Give that a mix. Now I've only got a couple more bits of veg here. I'm going to slice up I've got some rainbow radish here, and then I've got some avocado which goes perfectly well in a poke bowl. But more interestingly, you've sort of put a bowl or a handful of edamame beans in here. I'm guessing that is something that is like really really good for you.
Definitely. Anything that's bright green has got to be good for you.
Right, yeah.
But no, they're a really good source of protein, and obviously are a plant-based protein. So a really good way for vegetarians or vegans or even the meat eaters among us to get in protein. And the really unique thing about edamame is that it is actually what we call a complete source of protein. So it has all of the essential amino acids in it, which is similar to like a meat or a fish-based protein. But yeah, obviously in a plant protein. So it's a really unique protein.
Avocado, well, we call it nature's butter for a reason, don't we? It tastes great. It's got great texture. What are its benefits?
Yeah, so in terms of its health benefits, it's one of those fats that is incredibly good for our heart. So by consuming more avocados and also things like nuts and seeds, what we're actually doing is we're reducing our risk of cardiovascular disease. So the more fats we can swap from butter to things like avocado, or from animal fats to avocados and nuts and seeds and even olive oil, we are really protecting our heart health.
I'm ready to compile this dish. The only other thing that I think we should talk about is this stuff here, which is the wakame seaweed, which I love because it's got natural saltiness to it, perfectly like unique in texture. I've learned recently that 100% of seaweed in the world is edible. Now that is an incredible thing. Yeah. But why is it so good for you?
So one of the benefits of seaweed is it is packed with iodine, which is one of the best plant-based sources of iodine. In a meat eater's diet, they might find iodine in other products from the ocean, so in seafood, in fish, and even in dairy products, we do see a bit of iodine. So seaweed's great for iodine for plant-based people.
I'm going to eat lots of seaweed from now on because I love it.
It's good.
Right. So, as with most Asian cooking, it's all in the preparation, right? It's taken this whole time that we've been chatting for me to prepare all these ingredients, get them ready. My salad of ingredients here is looking bright and colourful. And then I've got my rice, which has been steamed away nicely, collecting its own steam. And what's nice about cooking it this way is that we've got all those sort of 10 grains, but they're still nice and separate, but have a slight stickiness to it. I mean, I am a fantong, but it is good for me, right?
Absolutely. You've got my tick of approval.
Yay! Okay, so all you're going to do is start to load up your brightly coloured vegetables all over this lovely poke bowl. And then as we go along, it'll just start to sort of create this excitement. My tummy has been rumbling this whole time we've been talking. The avocado, I've just sliced like into the actual avocado shell itself, so I can just sort of take cubes of avocado off it. So I'm going to put the edamame over the top. And then my cucumber, my aubergine just sits nicely into this. And then all this marinade, actually, because of the moisture from the aubergine, the marinade bowl has become a much more watery, and I'm really happy with that because that lends itself to me then drizzling that flavour all over the poke bowl.
What a great idea!
We've got your vegan poke bowl. I've got a little bit of sriracha, which I'm just going to drizzle over the top of those edamame. And there you have it, my very own vegan poke bowl, courtesy of Marika Day.
Looks amazing.
I'm really upset for you that you can't eat this and I have to eat it all by myself. But most importantly, thank you so much, Marika Day, for joining me and teaching me so much about how to eat a much sort of healthier diet, but not shortchanging me on the things that I love. And so thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Hopefully I can travel over and meet you one day soon, but I think I know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Healthier, longer, better lives all the way.